So today I'll be continuing with my scheduled discussion and point spread prediction videos. Today I'll be doing Oregon. So first of all, I think that uh, Oregon has one of the best rosters right now in uh, college football, uh, and it's rare for a team that's not coached by Nick Saban uh, to be expected to be just as good or better than they were the year before when they're having to replace a really good quarterback like Oregon is having to with Bo Nix. Mm, But I mainly think that Oregon is going to be so good because they got Dylan Gabriel. Um, I think that he has a chance to be even better for them than Bo Nix was at quarterback. So, mm, obviously, looking at this schedule, it's much different than uh, the kind of schedule that Oregon is used to playing because they're changing conferences. But I think it's actually easier than their schedule was the year before. Mm, So uh, their out of conference schedule looks not to be that bad at all to me. Uh, they mm, are their first three games of the season against Idaho, mm, Boise State, and uh, their rival Oregon State on the road. Mm, And mm, I know Oregon State's a rivalry game, and it is on the road. But uh, even though Oregon State's still uh, on the Power Four level, I don't think that they're going to be much of a problem this year for Oregon. Mm, And Boise State is one of the better non-Power Five teams, but they should still be no problem for Oregon. Of course, Idaho, that'll just be a real easy win. Mm, And mm, in the conference, uh, I'm mainly looking at two games that are going to be really tough for Oregon. Uh, The uh, home game on October 12th against Ohio State. That's going to be one of the biggest games of this season. Ohio State's probably the best team that Oregon will play on this schedule. And I'll go and tell you that uh, there's a good chance that this will be the first of two meetings next season between Oregon and Ohio State. Mm, And then they've got the road game against Michigan. And Michigan, I don't think will be near as good this year, but they're still going to be good. And it's on the road there. It's a really tough place to play, so that won't be easy at all. And then uh, they do have at the end of the season their uh, rivalry game against Washington, and I know Washington beat them both times last season, but uh, they lost to their coach and so many good players from last year's team. So mm, I don't really expect that game to be too hard for uh, Oregon this year, especially with it being at Oregon. Mm, And mm, uh, they have a road game against Wisconsin, which that could be a little bit tough, mm, depending on how good Wisconsin is. If they're better this year, it could be, but if they're not any better, it shouldn't be any problem for Oregon. And still, mm, I would expect Oregon to win that game fairly easily. Uh, mm, and mm, uh, they didn't get a bad time really for their first week off. You can see that it's in between the Oregon State and UCLA games, and those are both road games. So it's good to have a week off in between two road games. Uh, and uh, the UCLA game won't be just a given win for them, but it shouldn't be too hard. Uh, mm, and then mm, their second week off comes uh, right before the Washington game. Not a terrible time for a week off, but uh, it would have been better to have had a week off before the Ohio State or Michigan games. Mm, mm. So now I'll show you my prediction. Mm, So mm, if you haven't watched my Ohio State video of these, go back and watch it because in that video I explain how my point spread scale works so you can better understand it. Uh, so I see uh, 5 games on Oregon's schedule uh, that I think that they'll be favored by 20 or more points, and uh, which is a blowout. Those games are in the green: Idaho, Boise State, Michigan State, Purdue, and Illinois. Mm, And I see mm, uh, 5 games on their schedule where I think that they'll be favored by 10 to 19 points. So uh, not a blowout, but not close. And those games are Oregon State, UCLA, Maryland, uh, Wisconsin, and Washington. Mm, And uh, I see 2 toss-up games on here: uh, mm, Ohio State and Michigan. Mm, That means that the spread will be 0. There won't be a favorite. Mm, So mm, uh, Idaho, obviously, that game they'll be favored by 40 something points, and it probably they'll destroy them. Uh, mm, and uh, Boise State, it might be more like 28 points uh, because mm, they aren't a terrible team. Mm, and mm, Michigan State, the spread should be somewhere in the low 20s. Mm, I don't think they're going to be very good. Uh, mm, and uh, the same for Purdue. Even on the road, it should be in the lower 20s mm, because I don't think they're going to be any good. And the same for Illinois. Oregon should be somewhere in the low 20s favorite in that game. Mm, And uh, games uh, against mm, Oregon State and uh, UCLA, I'd say probably Oregon will uh, be like a mm, 17 or 18 or maybe even 19-point favorite against Oregon State uh, this year, and then probably like a 14-point favorite against UCLA. And uh, Maryland probably will be favored by about the same as they are with Oregon State: 17, 18, 19 points. Uh, and then uh, Wisconsin, even on the road, I still think that Oregon will probably be favored by uh, mm, at least 10 points, probably somewhere around 10. Mm, And then probably about 10 points with Washington, too. Mm, mm, And mm, uh, I think that mm, Ohio State right now looks to be a little bit better of a team than Oregon does. Uh, but because Oregon does get that game at home, I think it will be a toss up. And then Michigan, to me, Oregon looks like a better team than them for sure right now. Of course, that could change because Michigan could add some good players in the spring transfer portal. But right now, the only reason I have that in the black is because it's at Michigan. Uh, Man, they are the team that just won it all. Uh, mm, so that will be it with this video. And please subscribe to my channel. And thanks for watching another video. And uh, I'll make another one of these very soon.